We're starting off Tuesday by hitting the install button. It's telling me that keyboard cleaner is not going to work anymore because it's a 32-bit application. So it goes. I'll find another application for that. That's one where you open it and it just deactivates the keyboard until you hit Command Q so you can clean the keyboard with the system on. I've already downloaded it. It's just over 8 gigabytes. It took about 7 minutes on this internet connection, which is fantastic. We'll see how long this takes. It's 11:40. Give or take right now. I just did a time machine backup, 90 something gigabytes. It took a little while, but that is now done. So I'm just going to disconnect that drive because I feel better about having the backup drive not connected. I'm very nervous as to what is going to happen to my iTunes library, my photos library. That's why we do a backup. We can restore the whole system if we have to, although that would totally suck. But we'll be in touch. It came out yesterday. I thought it was the public beta yesterday for some reason. I'm just so far out of this stuff. But we're a day late. So I disappeared for about 22 minutes, 23 minutes, and I come back and it hasn't even started yet. I don't know what it has to do for 15 minutes. It's a little progress bar, so you have to click restart. It says closing applications. Well, the only application open. Yeah, excuse the dirty screen and the hair. The only application open was the installer. Anyways, noon, Tuesday. That means irrigation goes, as you can hear out there. So I moved the car. Trash hasn't even come yet. Everything seems late today. The plant dig hasn't shown up yet. I've gotten through the mail, working on Facebook, and now the installation starts. Here's the update today. Things are a lot smaller. Piles are a lot smaller. I worked for about 5 hours carrying things inside, slightly cleaning them up, not really. Put a yellow sticker on them to indicate they are from that car, and organize them on the shelves in there. So kind of the big stuff is left out here. This door is going to be a scrap door due to condition, and I can't sell them. Nobody wants doors. So I stripped everything off of it, which takes way longer than I thought. It's about 2 hours to get. I already put the window motor and regulator away, but the trim and the airbag and the vapor barrier and the wiring loom and everything that comes off the door with the exception of that handle, and then all of that crap inside, I just do not have the patience to fiddle with that now, so maybe later. I'm starving. I'm going to go home and eat. Hello. It is Tuesday night at 10:26. I'm very haggard, if you can't tell. So it's been a ridiculously crazy day. I got up today and worked on emails and catching up on stuff in the vlog and all the usual shit. And then I found out that Catalina actually came out in its public release official version yesterday. So I made my my backup and installed that, and seemingly everything went well at first. And when I first opened Music, which is the application that replaces iTunes, none of my album art was there. It was missing a lot of songs, and it was a total disaster. And I gave it about 30 seconds, and it loaded all of that and came back pretty well. Now I did have to go, and I do things in a strange way. I don't know why, it's just the way I do. I view all of my playlists, and playlists are how I organize things, so if you go to the view in the top menu bar and then view as songs. If you view as playlist, you don't get any information, and every track takes up a huge amount of vertical space, and that makes no sense to me. So if you go view as songs, then it looks like iTunes did 10 years ago, and to me that's the way it should look. So I had to do that for all of my playlists and then reorganize the items that are at the top. I like year to be in there, date added to be in there. I do not care about the iCloud download status, and I do not care about the love icon. So I delete to, add to, auto size all. That took a little bit. Otherwise, Music feels just like iTunes. So far, so good. Photos, it had to go through all 44,000 photos and re-optimize. It took about 20 minutes. All of that seems to be fine. The problems are with two applications. One, Final Cut Pro 10. I have used that application from the Totally Legal Bay for a number of years. That no longer works, so today was expensive. I'll leave it at that. Number two is VMware. I virtualize Windows 7 64-bit, I think it's Professional or Ultimate Edition, I don't remember, for diagnostics purposes on the for BMWs. And VMware, I use 8.5.1, which is several years old, I realize that, but I used a friend's corporate license for that and don't want to pay for it, so that's why I'm using the older version. And it still works, but it doesn't display anything in full screen mode or normal screen mode. Only the thumbnail in the application like high-level view window shows a live thumbnail. So it boots, but it just shows a black screen. So I do a bunch of research and I read threads, multiple pages of threads, and it turns out that later versions need to ask permission to use screen recording in settings, or system preferences, they now call it. System preferences, security, privacy, screen recording. And you have to allow VMware to do that. Now you can't just click the plus button and add the application. The application has to request permission for that. And to get it to request permission, you have to be an 11.5 or higher, create a new virtual machine. And I spent like 2 hours on this morning and I still can't get it to work. So I'm just going to have to buy 11.5. So a free Mac OS update that effectively does nothing for my productivity. It adds no new features, it adds nothing that I genuinely care about, is costing me $500, $400 in software upgrades. So the software I use is compatible with it. So in the short term, it doesn't make much sense. In the long term, this is the future of Mac OS. These are applications that I will be using for a long period of time. It's an inevitable upgrade that I'm going to have to make, and expense that I will have to make. So, frustrating day. I got stuff cleaned up at the shop. I'm exhausted and my back's killing me. So I'm going to bed. We'll talk tomorrow on Hump Day. Good night.